Hello and welcome to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever. This is a ladder match on a map that is not featured on ladder too much. This is Stella Maris WM 1v1. I don't know what the WM stands for, but it is an edit of a map called Stella Maris. The edit is done by Mad Mozart, and it basically introduces these mountains here to separate. This is usually one landmass, and it would be a team game scenario, and this back area would be cut off. It would be a plateau that you have to drop, and that's really the main change. I can't think of anything else that's changed. Well, some mechs layout changes, of course, but the main thing is the splitting of the landmass into distinct parts to make it more interesting for 1v1 play. Excuse me. The players we have: ThomasHiatt, probably casted more than anyone else on this channel by now. And we have SilentNoob, as he goes by now, in the SNF clan. So we have a pretty decent rating difference. Silent not been at his best, I guess, too recently. And Thomas always improving, playing as much as anyone is, probably. Or even more. And so, what do we do on such a map? Well, we have a lot of tree groups. These are all tree groups, so that's something to note. We have, well, it's 10x10, I should mention. And you start in opposite corners, so early inti fights certainly possible. Thomas going for the transport rush. He's not using any of the tree groups to help him with that. And look at that. Look at that for a balance. That's pretty decent. Needs to maybe pause the engineers. It's better in this scenario to pause the engineers, because the engineers do not benefit from adjacency while the factory does, so factory build power is a bit more efficient. So he's rescued transport, Silent doing the same, so both players going for the transport, not going for the transport intercept, which is definitely very possible on a map like this. You're not that far away from each other. Only a 10x10 map, and Silent is going south. ThomasHiatt is going east. Assuming, of course, all maps are set up that way in those cardinal directions. But just assuming they are. So he's dropping on the island first. This is not a beach here, so you do have to drop. And now he's going to drop further ahead. If you look here, there is a beach to this spot, so often you'll see people walk this way and maybe even walk their ACU towards the frontier. There's also chunks of mass around, and actually both players are Seraphim. I forgot to mention that as well. So Seraphim mirror matchup. 4 engineers dropped in this base. ThomasHiatt arrives on the scene with just 2 paltry 2 engineers. They're outmanned, and he's gonna fight, and he's gonna lose. Silent is, of course, paying close attention. He gets rid of 1 engineer, so there's only 3 there now, but that's not too good for Thomas. And there's no bomber just yet. I assume he will be making one. That is the quickest way to do damage over here and get rid of these engineers, is a bomber, of course. But he's really lacking for energy. He's not making use of the tree groups. You can see, maybe you can or you can't see, but they are broken. I think some players will be able to tell which groups are broken. They look a bit different when you are zoomed out a bit. So you can see that these are not broken, and some of these are just tree group things. So Silent's expansion to the left is going to be a lot slower, and actually sending another transport now south again, maybe towards here. This front nose of this landmass. Thomas, meanwhile, losing some HP on his transport, and this Indy's still alive. He's going to kill it. Oh, and he loses 4 engineers there. That is actually very, very bad for Thomas. So there's now 2 factories up, third one on the way, and Silent is really in a great position to deny this entire area and even put pressure up this way. And he's dropping here. In fact, he's not dropping in the front. Maybe he saw the land factory. Perhaps it looks like he had spotted it as it was constructing, judging by the way the visuals look there. So he did know there's a factory going up there, so doesn't decide to drop there. He could have dropped next to the factory maybe and captured it, or got a PD up or reclaimed it. But no, he's gone for all the glory dropping in here. But the problem is he does not have mass to support this. So this may be a bit of a mistake. Maybe at this point you would cancel this idea and instead just get them to reclaim. But really, this transport, in hindsight, would have been much better used. Expanding, look at all of these mexes to take. Expansion here would have been the key so that he could fund his proxy that he's already established over here. Maybe ambitious, but a bit of a mistake probably. Thomas now moving out. Only has 3 engineers on his transport. And he's really has a lot of resources in comparison to Silent, who's struggling for mass. Thomas is struggling for build power. Only 1 naval factory. Oh no, we have a second one up front here. Now on this map, you can see there's a lot of water. And actually those engineers all got popped by a bomber. Almost got his first vet straight away. And bombers are going to take out this base. And only now the ACU is moving across. Maybe that's a mistake, but he did really need the build power, judging by his resources. Making 1 mex, not falling into the trap of investing too much in mexes just because he has some mass in the bank. That can be a fatal error if you do that, if you choose to dump that mass into mexes too quickly. But he is going to eco a bit. This is certainly a map where you have room to eco. Now the air looks good for Thomas actually. Looks like he has air control. 10 inties now running out of power. Only 5 for Silent. And Thomas sort of chickened out. He didn't want to drop over here. He dropped this island, this island, this island. There's also mexes in the water here to grab, but he didn't drop the far side. And see, Silent still lacking this front expansion and the side. He could have easily just walked engineers here. I think more factories at the start would have been very good from him, so he could get a lot more build power and just walk engineers to various locations rather than trying to do all these drops. Because if the drops take you too long to do, then they're not really worth it at all. There's some air control being lost to Zooies. Is there anything they can't do? There's not much. Silent getting this Hydro, has many of the mexes, needs some anti-air now, and he needs to really use these tanks. He could be using them. He should be sending them this way. This is the only way to the rest of Thomas's mexes. You can see the design of the map also makes proxies not so brutal on a map like on the unedited version, the original team game version. You would, if you dropped across here, you got a base. The whole of this island was completely open, and there were mexes all over to be raided very easily. There was some terrain. Well, actually, that's not true. There was some terrain, so we had this plateau at the back that you couldn't run up. And I think there was maybe a little bit of terrain in the middle. But mostly it was very open. A lot of damage could be done. This way it's actually difficult to do damage, although he could certainly be pushing a lot faster in this direction. ACU here to block the choke. Still, yeah, slow expansion from Silent, and maybe that's gonna make up for the difference. I mean, you would expect Thomas to be maybe a bit further behind right now, but he seems to be doing fine, certainly air, and he's very carefully grabbing a lot of mexes around here. And his bombers are doing damage, but now the Navy comes into it. Navy, huge portion of this map, obviously. Not as much in this game because we have a proxy happening, but usually this map is, I think, decided by Navy, because you can hit virtually every mex with T2 Navy. There's some terrain blocking some shots, like here and here, but a lot of it, this location, obviously no cliffs to help you, so often you'll see T2 Navy move across and do damage, given if Thomas actually had control of this location. Now the expansion is maybe going to be completed soon. On this side we have a lot of factories going up here. I'm not sure why so many factories, but yeah, not quite sure. And some missing mexes still. I think maybe overinvestment in factories on this side. Perhaps he's afraid of a drop, or was afraid of a proxy and thought there was going to be one here that he would have to deal with. This is nice. Hydro and 2 mechs is going to be denied for him, for Thomas. And this is before he gets a T2 Pigeon up, so maybe the Hydro will hurt. We'll see. Thomas under pressure with his commander, trying to push in, but there's so many units here from Silent that he has to be quite careful. It looks like maybe this is a bit of a mistake from Silent. He might be throwing away some tanks, and Thomas is likely going to get a vet pretty soon. He's over halfway now, and ThomasHiatt's build power now dying in the Navy. Always nice to kill naval factories, like for example this this frigate may get to 90% before being killed, but actually decent numbers from Thomas, and he's gonna clean this up, and there's gonna be mass left for him to gather. There's already some frigs, and you can see he's grabbing them quickly with a couple engineers. You can see 2 land factories here spamming engineers because of the nature of the map. It's a big map. There's a lot of mexes, and there's going to be a lot of battles and a lot of reclaim to be grabbed. And it looks like Silent wins the air fight, but damage has already been done. This torpedo bomber doing a lot of damage. That's a dead sub. 1 pass and it disappears. 360 mass. Sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Torpedo bombers, well, there's an argument to be made that they're a bit too good. Certainly heard that argument before. Silent Eco, we don't have any T2 mexes. Now he is moving on to start making them, getting some assists there, so they build in a reasonable time, but his mass stall is quite painful. It's a lot of massy stalling, and this Navy is not being used correctly at all. Look at all the mass being left for Thomas. He is going to get that, and the stuff that was left here is already gone. So the Navy is really being wasted here, I have to say. If he had gathered up his forces, I think he may have been able to break it. But as it is, it's going in small numbers, and the air is actually doing a lot to help the few T1 naval units that Thomas has. On the bottom, on the proxy, Thomas has a decent force. He has his first vet. He's now not pushing. He's letting his Zoes do the work. Look at all of the Zoes. And the T1 PDs disappear so quickly. Silent is trying to get more factories, but that mass stall means there's not going to be units coming out quickly at all. and that's not good for him. More Navy being sent in, and it's just more Navy gonna land on the ocean floor for Thomas. These look like, what are they? Zeus or engineers? Engineers sent out to build torpedo launchers. Not the worst idea, but there's a frigate. Oh no, come back. Damn. Could have killed all the engineers, I think, there. But alas, over here, actually, maybe it was gunship saved the day here. And maybe it was redropped. But the PD is dead, and Thomas has the island. Thomas also, with these islands down here, and these islands, so it's doing better in the expansion in the islands. And if we look at economy, well, he actually still only has a single T2 max. So we've had a very low econ game, as both players have really focused on, well, it's because of this proxy really that we haven't had economy. Both players forced to fight over this, make a lot of units, and that is why they have not been ecoing. And also we've had constant Navy spammed into Thomas's clutches. There's so much mass here, but can Silent overcome this? Now there's only 10 T1 naval units, and not many more for Silent, just a few, but Thomas is taking a pretty bad engagement, have to say. And there's subs in here that are going to do a lot of free damage. Looks like Thomas wants to return the favor and send some mass back Silent's way. Very kind of him. Zeus fighting Zeus. Gotta be moving them around, and factories are going down, but still Silent has a decent number of them. He's continuing to spam more, which is good because they are disappearing. He is losing his map control here, lost the mexes. Doing a pretty decent job of getting reclaim. Doesn't look like he's built too many engineers, but I think he could recycle some factories for mass maybe. And he did some nice drops also on these islands, but with Zeus, so although he killed the islands. Oh, that's a nice Zui. He didn't take these islands, but he did kill them. This is quite nice. Edge built a factory off the cliff, and now using engineers from the factory to expand. That's a nice move, very nice. Thomas forced to make a lot of AA here. Maybe he's afraid of drops, or just wants somewhere to hide his interceptors. Now his ACU returns to the fray, and he can walk in and start reclaiming these bases, this whole base, and killing the Zeus and the engineers and the mexes, and getting a decent amount of reclaim. There's going to be a couple thousand reclaim surely for him awaiting, and there's no PD to stop him either. If there was, the Zeus would surely take care of it. We have a lot of subs, but no, there's now this is a quite bad. Those subs are going to get absolutely destroyed by the torpedo launchers. One of them has already gone down, but this one here is absolutely murking the subs. Look at this. There he goes. It's going to die right here. And we've already seen other ones die as well. There's another torpedo defense here. Maybe, and another one probably just went up. Yes. Ooh, it turns so slowly. But it doesn't have to turn the whole way to fire. And there goes another sub. And I think another one just gets constructed. And Silent's really going all in here, but he's if he had held the subs back, let the frigates kill the torpedo launchers, maybe he could send in the subs after. He could send the subs up this way to take out the build power safely, while the frigs do other damage like killing these engineers. So maybe not ideal micro, but it still looks quite good for Silent. What is the air sitch? 46 inties, and we have a few torpedo bombers. Oh, Zeus being dropped to the front. That is what you want to see when you're making that T1 naval push. Maybe a little late, but that's a very, very nice idea. They can add so much to that T1 naval push, but yeah, slightly late, I think. And actually the transport death did no damage to the Zoes, it seems. I thought it would do something. And now they're going to get destroyed by these frigates going to run in. And they prove not to be too useful there. Have some gunships from Silent. Where is he going to use those? This would be a good place to kill these frigates. We're going to need some, or kill these mexes down here. We're going to need some going to need some subs or torpedo bombers. Now Thomas's torpedo bombers attacking these frigates over here, and Thomas has many engineers in the water that are going to start making start sucking up that mass. We need to see T2 Navy right now. This is the time. We've had a lot of fighting. We have a lot of mass on this map, a lot of reclaim. Definitely time to be making T2 Navy. Probably was time even a little while ago, but I guess someone was being very aggressive. These AA turrets doing a lot of damage to the inties as they fly overhead, and we have far more inties for Thomas. Air does not look good, and Thomas really in a good situation now. He's regained this. The proxy has been wiped from the map, but if we look at total mass, Silent is ahead on total mass, and he is also making some economy, but the economy overall is very even, and I think that's a forward T2 Max. It's a risky one. I think that'll die to frigates even. What I would like to see is some T2 transports, because we have a lot of Zoes here. Look at this, 29 Zoes. Get some T2 drop in the right place, and it can be very good, but certainly the way Thomas has built these anti-air turrets and the way he has control of this makes it quite difficult to get a T2 transport into, say, these P-gens, which would be the money shot. So 9 T2 mexes and another one about to be complete, and he's going to be assisting quite heavily. Going to try and turn this into an eco game. He needs to make T2 Navy though. Both players do. Thomas, I think, is situated to do a lot of damage. He needs to stop making interceptors, however. They are just a waste right now. He has 100, over 100, and Silent has far less than half, so we need to see that stopped, and instead of putting 50 mass into an inti, just make some more economy and make T2 Navy. A very, very good option on this map is the TML ACU. So we have a lot of mexes around here, and if you can get some naval control, just enough, then you can do a lot of damage. But there looks to be a snipe coming for Thomas's ACU, but he's just finished a static flak, and there's these gunships taking significant damage, and Silent just decides to retreat. Another flak would surely have gone up before Thomas took really significant damage, and I don't think the snipe would have worked. I think it's a good call to retreat the gunships, but now the inties, the inties are dying, and the over 100 inties of Thomas have moved in, and they're going to absolutely wipe everything here, and that's going to be a really painful loss for Silent. Well, it looks like he may be able to save some inties, which would be quite good. Thomas probably could have caught all those. He was on this side of them. Probably could have caught a lot more, but as it is, the gunships are all gone, and Thomas has complete and utter air control. Now, hopefully, he's confident enough after seeing that to stop making inties, but probably not. It would save him a lot if he would stop making them and just make torp bombers, gunships, transports, Natas, all of these things, and of course T2 mexes. You can see the eco is really getting going now. We're going to see Many more mexes go up. And also making a TMD here, so that's very important. You can put TML on these islands as well, and they can reach the far side and on the front islands as well. If you can get some T2 tech there, you can see this. There's a large battle here. Silent was pushed all the way up to about this location. There's a prolonged battle, but eventually Silent is getting pushed back now, and he's going to lose this forward production, which will be quite painful. The Zoos will eat that up very quickly. Silent reacting with Zoos of his own. Maybe TML com would be nice. Silent had a lot of control here. Maybe he could have brought his ACU forward, but well, the air scenario was quite bad for him. So I guess a good decision not to opt for that. Problem with getting a TML ACU is that you cannot get the nano, which would really help you survive in the water. Ooh, we have a nice some drops, T1 drops. That's unusual. 4 T1 transports about to drop, but oh no, the flak just destroys almost all the cargo. 9 Zoos survive, no transports do. And there's a T2 PD as well. So maybe a flak will go down, but there's not even T2 mexes to kill here. And that attack is not too impressive, unfortunately for Silent. And we do finally have T2 Navy. There's a couple Destros out. Torp bombers doing damage. And a cruiser on the way. Cruiser can hit so many things here. We actually have Zoos doing damage to these islands as well. And oh, an attempted drop here. Looks like one fell out. Jumped out the side before the transport went up in a ball of flames. And he's gonna do his job. Try and get some damage done, but I'm not even sure what killed him there. Maybe a Zooey. Hey, this guy has 1 kill and 0 veterancy. That's interesting. 1 kill and 0 veterancy points. Very interesting. Thomas, I feel, could really be doing a lot more with his air right now, considering the utter dominance, but the drops are definitely quite nice. Getting engineers out, trying to do damage with Zoos. Now, what is the plan? It's very, very difficult for Silent to get back into the air game for sure. He's actually losing more inties now. In the cloud. And Thomas has done very, very well getting proxied at the start of the game. It's not easy to come back from that. So many mechs denied for so long, but he really made up for it, and you can see this here. This control is quite huge. There's a lot of mexes and even a hydro and some reclaim. Oh, the Zoos on the shore are actually in range. No, that's pretty sad. Not too important for the game, but quite sad to see nonetheless. What is the plan? We have T2 Navy, and the first thing out is a cruiser. He feels forced into it because of the air situation, but look at Thomas's Navy right now. Oh, he only has 1 Destro. He must have lost one. Lost one at least. Excuse me. These Zoos mixed in here with a lot of frigates are doing great for him. He now has 4 cruisers out. Needs to send one of these up here to take out a lot of these mexes. There's T2 mechs at the back, which I'm sure could be taken out. And this looks quite bad for Silent. Looks like he's just going to get pushed all the way back to his base. There's no way he can stop this Navy anymore, I have to say. And look, Thomas recognizes it as well, getting upgrades in his commander, so he's feeling safer. Doesn't want to get some snipe landed on him, so gets the nano repair T2 gun, and he's going to be a lot more secure from some cheeky snipes. Looks like the T2 Naval HQ will be going down shortly, and that will really seal the comeback from Thomas. Yes, I think we pointed out some of Silent's mistakes here that allowed Thomas to come back in. The naval reclaim here, I think, was one of the big factors. There goes the HQ. I think the naval reclaim feeding was a big factor. The slow expansion. Where did I go wrong? Well, maybe Silent will watch this. Maybe not. Maybe he'll agree or disagree. Maybe you will too. But I think slower expansion. On this side, he tried to drop here, which was very ambitious, and could have dropped with his. That was with his second transport, I believe, or maybe third. Could have been dropping the left-hand side and the front. Could have walked to many more mexes as well, perhaps. And yeah, that plus the naval reclaim, I would say, is probably the biggest factor. The proxy did its job, did quite well. He had to invest a decent amount, but so did Thomas, and Thomas also had to walk all the way over there, which can put you at risk. And yes, and also then Thomas, realizing he had less map control, focused on getting a lot of mexes which are out here in the water on these islands, and really tried to make up for these lost mexes here. So well played, Thomas. As Silent says, yes, it was well played from him, and also well played from Silent, I have to say. Very nice idea, good execution on the proxy, but yeah, a couple other mistakes, and Thomas was able to capitalize and pull this one back for himself. Well played, both players. Hope you enjoyed the cast. Hope you maybe learned a bit about the map. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.